You find it's in Africa, there is a certain doctor he brought here, a certain Jewish doctor, PhD. There's a lady, she was, didn't know that. In Uganda, people vote ability, not tribe. The other time, Mao and Acholi lost in Acholi to Besigye from the West. That is one thing Uganda has. In Kenya, that's not possible. In Kenya, Mao would have got votes. You know, it makes him strong. It gives him bargaining power for the national cake. Bosses are fighting. When they fight, for us down, we don't fight. Time and arrange the big ones on the bottom, the ones, you know, and then the smaller ones on top. You'll have a lot of them in one bag, and you'll carry them very easily. In Africa, I think we are assuming so much. In Uganda, we have kings. We have the Batoro who have their king. They respect him. When you talk of Pan-Africanism, he is not included. In Busoga, we have the Chabazinga, and doesn't feature. The question is, we want to liberate Africa as Pan-Africanists. I think we should be looking at it in the mirror and looking at trying to assess our impact since independence. The other time I said the Boys Scout in Africa, the Boy Scout movement in Africa is more popular than Pan-Africanism. Yet Boy Scout movement was started by Bob Powell, Baden-Powell, a racist who hated Africa, who hated black people. But he's more popular than us, who are advocating for African emancipation. Why? Maybe because we are doing it wrongly. Maybe because we think the patron, I think, is Mr. Mukula, who is a boss in NRM. Don't you think that one divides, Mr. Speaker? In fact, we should even be looking at, as we are debating, we want youths, what they can they do to totally liberate Africa? What the youth can do to totally liberate Africa is for the youths and us, the elders, to sit together and restructure Pan-Africanism. Otherwise, we'll be going to war when we are not prepared, we are not coordinated.
So, as you went, is now the deficit of ensuring that we achieve our total liberation, the question of African youth coming together to Sudan, should remain Sudan, Uganda.
Africa.
Okay.
In Africa, the continent. Uganda wasn't there. Where you find Uganda today, where many new nations, now there is one, which encompasses all of them. Actually, to be honest, the colonialists did unite Africans, but they did it the wrong way. Because many tribes, they left one nation, many nationalities, they left one nation in Uganda. So I've had I think we have the wrong message to say that the Europeans divided us. No, they didn't divide us. They only united us badly.
Information. Let me start microphone. Where is my thing? Right. Someone. You want to inform the professor?
I want to inform you, Professor. The idea that Africa was divided is wrong. It's wrong because when we see back in the time from the ancient Kemet, the ancient Carthage, the ancient Kush, you can see during that period, Africa was indeed one. Like trade in Kemet or the Kush kingdom ranged from Egypt up to Zimbabwe, down in Zimbabwe. We had Carthage covering almost the whole of West Africa. And the battles you're talking about, those ones of Kabalega and the rest, those ones started after the invasion of Arabs, the invasion of Europeans. When these people were invaded from the north, they moved downward.
To the professor and the world.
Okay.
Was European. In fact, if you want to go to Carthage, which is modern day Tunisia, you'll find Roman buildings there to indicate that this was a European enclave. It wasn't African. And let me tell you, well, to an African. Because for the Europeans, they didn't consider us as anything. If they came to Africa and saw Carthage, they gave Carthage to all the part of Africa southwards, when Carthage didn't even appear here. It's an insult that somebody thinks that a whole continent can be one. No, especially Africa, which didn't have wheels, we didn't have horses. In Africa, if you migrated to 100 kilometers from here as a village, as a family, in 20 years you'll be speaking a different language. We never, you know, so it is a way of insulting us that south we didn't have leaders. So Carthage was representing the whole of Africa. That's not true. We had Zimbabwe. We had Bunyoro here. We had Congo. You've never heard of Congo? Congo, I think, was a big empire encompassing Angola, the present-day Congo, excluding the eastern part of it, part of Gabon, Central African Republic, and Congo-Brazzaville. That was Congo. It was a very big empire. So somebody to say that Carthage was therefore the only one, it is an insult to us. It meant that for us down here, we didn't have capability of developing administrative units. We had them. In fact, when they reached Zimbabwe, they looked at the buildings, that structure, and they said, no, 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 this must have...
New theories again. Stop and shut up. Translate these are embedded and they are already in existence amongst our people. So we don't need to learn more about them, more than we need to know more about ourselves. I challenge every African pastor, every African theologian, every African politician, every African minister. Stop enforcing white colonial knowledge on the people. Liberate the people. Liberate the people. You cannot be standing as a pastor and you're the one who is supervising to see if every member has come to church in a tie. Supervising every member to make sure that they sing and they pray in English. And every time you pray in English, maybe that's why your prayers are never answered. The prayers are being answered in America and in Britain and in Europe. Start teaching people about themselves. Start teaching people about the Yeshua who grew up in Egypt, who danced with us, who ate with us, who lived with us. Start teaching people about the history of the Cushites, the history of the Nubians, the history of the Egyptians, the histories of Nelubale, the histories of Nigeria, the tribes of Africa, the languages of Africa, the motives of Africa, spirituality of Africans, governance of Africans. Start educating the African person about himself.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid debate.
Can't waste our time in schools memorizing William Shakespeare. If music be the food of love, play on, give me excess of it. That's something that might sicken my appetite and so that. No wonder we are so sick. We're sickened by this kind of education. Romeos and Juliets and all those stories that are a plagiaristic activity stolen from the fellow black people. I would say to all of us, it is critical and it is important that in the midst of our knowledge, our information becomes selfish. Let us teach Africans about Africa. Let us teach the African child about himself, so that he too can be proud of himself. The first lesson I would offer anybody who wants to start this thing: who are you? Student, I am so and so. Who is your father? My father is so and so. Who is your mother? My mother is so and so. Who gave birth to your mother? Who gave birth to your father? Who gave birth to your cousin? Who are your cousins? Who are your uncles? What are your roots? What are you known for? Deep into your history to know yourself. There is nothing evil about that. Spending a lot of time memorizing Bible verses when you don't even know yourself. You don't even know your own mother. Who is the mother of your mother? And you think that knowing Isaac, Jacob, and Abraham will save you from this foolishness of this generation. We need the African child to start reprogramming our minds. Move away from this paganism that you call Christianity and find the truth about African spirituality.
Free your mind now.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kato Mukasa is a lawyer, is an author, and is a humanist. As he comes on the platform, I'd like to take the opportunity to recognize for the first time on the platform Dr. Brian Kibirige. Ben Kibirige is from FOME, Uganda. I don't know what FOME means. He's a
Foundation for Male Engagement.
Foundation for Male Engagement. Oh, and then he also came with the lady called Patricia Umura. She's an advocate. She has gone out a bit. It's actually their first time being here, and I think I arrested them. I arrested them to attend the debate. So, and when he understood the whole idea, I'm told he's loving the thing. Mr. Katumba.
Thank you, Brother Irumba, and welcome everyone. My brother Kashaya, it has been a long time. That one we have been fighting battles for over 20 years. Of course with you, you know. Professor David Kasuti and the esteemed audience, my brother Yagub. I don't know, where is Yagub? Yeah.
Yagub from Sudan.
My comrade there and everyone, the great Pan-Africanist here. I will take this chance to introduce myself again. My name is Kato Mukasa. I'm a lawyer. I work with Mukasa Rugaland and Company Advocates. But also, I'm a founder member of this platform. I think you forget that.
Yes. Actually, give him a round of applause. Mr. Mukasa is one of the first people that actually embraced this platform. I acknowledge that.
Yes, and actually, I participated in writing its constitution. So, I'm part of this home, and I love this home. And I love the debates here. Sometimes I fail to make it, but today he said I have to make it. And I'm happy to see the experienced debaters like Mr. Kasuti, Kashaya there, and everyone in the audience. Now, and of course I'm saying that Mr. Irumba here has done a big job, because you can see people like Rutama Africa coming from here, becoming RDCs. I think you have done a good job in mentoring people, and of course many others. And I'm happy because these are brothers. We may disagree.
I want to make Mr. Kashaya vice president.
Yes, we can disagree on ideology, but we remain brothers. And I'm happy if Kashaya goes up. So thank you very much. Now, going to the topic right away, I will begin with that gentleman's submission. He's a bishop in a way. He's confused, but also very intelligent. That guy, he calls himself a bishop, then he bashes the religion, then he promotes the religion. It's very complicated. I've been following him, but he's very intelligent.
He's like Mr. Kasuti's presentation.
Yeah, just like this gentleman, Mr. Kasuti. He's very intelligent, but he can be very confusing at one point. But I love him for two things. The idea that we take wholesomely everything from West and we adapt, which I agree with him. He attacks the education system, which has enslaved us. No doubt. I have a book I've written here. I'm going to be talking about it. I was teaching at a university at one point, and I had to leave because it was making no sense. I have my first class degree, but teaching people things that don't add up doesn't make sense. I'd rather go and eat muhogo, as the president was saying. Yeah. So, Mabonga, that man, has been promoting critical thinking for many years. He's teaching you, Irumba, to think. For example, what I called Andrew, you're going to defend it at the end of the day. Hey, Andrew, because my father gave it to me, but this is the colonial name. My colonial name, my slave name is Paul. I rejected it 20 years ago. And I rejected Catholicism 30 years ago. I'm 43 years. Because I was wondering, why?
What are you eating?
I don't know. I was wondering why someone from Italy and wherever they came from could think for me and say, this is the right religion, this is the wrong one. To me, and I began my Pan-Africanism at Makerere University. Professor Kajabago was my mentor, Yashmin Nuruddin and others, Tandon and others, those professors. That's why I was saddened, because it was my friend, Tajuddin. I was saddened because that guy, Kajabago, died. We lost him. That guy mentored us at the university, 98, 99. That's when I became a Pan-Africanist. Then I began wondering, why are we taking everything wholesomely from the West? Are we so stupid that we must dress like them? Today I was putting on a coat because I'm a lawyer, but I had to go home and change because I noticed the Pan-African platform. Why do I need to follow everything the white man says to be the right thing? Some of them are very misleading, I agree. The education system is bogus, it has let us down. So, to go back on our very discussion today, we are talking about Africa, and we are talking about, are we free, are we liberated? And then we are talking about the youth, so we are combining so many things into one. So I will start by saying that one...
I think let me first elaborate that.
Yes.
I bring in the aspect of the youth, because I know world over, there is no liberation, there is no struggle that can be fought by the elderly people.
Yes.
Those of us who be in the boardroom planning, go here, attack here, but the actual people that are going to move on ground.
And by that time, if I remember the constitution, 3 I'm no longer used. Now, 53 countries in Africa, and look at this. We are neo-imperialism.
Are we aware?
I don't know, but I'm going to show you how. Just briefly. Look at the composition of wealth in Africa and how much we donate to the world. I disagree with him on a number of things, but I agree with him on one thing. He says that what we export as raw materials, we are actually giving donations to someone to make you a shirt, and then sells you $15 when you sold that cotton or whatever at $1. We are the donors, but we don't know. And much of these resources are coming from Africa. That we are more having what we call a comparative advantage in economics, and that is agriculture as Africans. But how much are we using it? Ask Kashaya here, who is going to come after me maybe. How much of the Uganda is put in agriculture? You may cry, because State House gets more. I'm here.
Yesterday they asked for another supplementary budget.
Which is about 600 billion. Yeah, now you can imagine, we are Ugandans. I'm a mutuous, by the way, I agree with you, and I will come to that. We are Ugandans who don't even know how much we are worth. Because a national budget doesn't favor us. Me, I was educated on coffee and cows.
When you say it doesn't favor you,
doesn't favor us.
When it is, you are the one who elected the president.
I'm coming on that.
The budget is to help the president and do his job.
Okay.
So what do you mean?
Now, we have looked at what makes Africa Africa. One, when I was in the School of Economics before I did law at Makerere, was our comparative advantage, agriculture. And I've just told Kashia here and the professor here, our national budget doesn't favor us, the farmers. Me, I'm a farmer, I have my acres of land, I try to dig, though sometimes things go bad. You get it? But I value agriculture. But how many of the young people here, before we blame the president, we blame him, actually do agriculture? How many young people here have farms in their villages? Ask them. How many of them there? Because they think once you have a degree, you can't be a farmer. Mental imprisonment.
And if you do, then you are failed in the world.
Yes.
Aspect.
I have photos.
To farm as a
exactly. You follow my page. I go to my garden. I have a big farm, and I show photos when actually I'm in my banana plantation, my Rumonde. We call it what? Rumonde's what? Yes, because farming is part of us as Africans. If you go to Europe, they have one of the worst soils in the world. Red, brownish, terrible soils. You have the best soils in the world. You're not utilizing them, Yorumba. For you, I know you are farming. I'm showing you one aspect why the youth are not engaging properly. Now, when you move from there, look at gold. How much gold does Africa donate to the world? And do you know?
Say from Congo, not Africa.
I'm repeating Africa. And much of it, forget about your Congo. Much of it from former so-called colonies, which are still colonies. Do you know that African countries still pay umusoro, taxes to France? And we accept that an African country who was colonized by France, if it doesn't pay that tax, the French sponsor a revolution. They assassinate leaders. I'm here, you are televising this, and I know people are following you. I've gone to France.
So
I know.
You fear to go back after this?
How terrible.
Will you go back?
I don't even mind, but I'm telling you this. I know how terrible neocolonialism has done to Africa. That I've told you that colonies, that we have French colonies, still pay tax. What's happening in Mali today? You have been following the news. Oh, you are a Pan-Africanist. What's happening in Mali today? They are saying enough is enough. Because Africans that were colonized by the French are so poor, still from Africans, and the majority of Africans are poor, even including those in France. France has one of the largest population of blacks in the world. They come, destroy our country, say, come to our country. They take those who work with them. After destroying your country. And all the colonies where France has been a ruler, people are too poor, and the French bureaucracies or aristocrats continue to steal the oligarchy. People. And African youth in these countries are all quiet. I'm a humanist, but I believe we must fight for what is ours.
Actually, if you could also add that Uganda is a member of the Commonwealth.
I'm coming to that.
I don't know what it means.
Very good. Let me explain that. How do you explain that? Because my country was ruled by the British, I'm therefore a member of the Commonwealth. But when you look at the countries in the Commonwealth, wealth is not common. What is common in the Commonwealth is exploitation and poverty. And they cannot match. Some countries are too rich because they have colonized you and they continue colonizing you. And you in the Commonwealth, you are too poor. You cannot even speak when you go to meetings because you are begging. How much aid does Africa get from Europe? Let me show you. Africa as a continent gets $50 billion each year. You can Google it. From Europe. In international aid. Uganda. Those sisters and brothers who have HIV in Uganda depend on USAID, an American organization, to survive. If Americans pull out, there is a problem. Now tell me, if you are going to disagree with Americans, just one component, HIV.
Actually, we once disagreed with them on the law of homosexuality.
Yes.
And they said, okay, if you don't want the law of homosexuality, then we also are pulling from...
So, because you are depending on them. Now, you have people in Africa, and this is very sad, Iromba, why I came here today. People in Africa who have actually showed you that they can make drugs for HIV. Research.
Even cancer.
Cancer. COVID.
Doctor, is it Lubago?
COVID, our friend, the Itosot man. What happens to Africans that come up with research? They are sat on, they are persuaded by their own governments because their own governments are under armpits of colonialism and neocolonialism. They don't allow you to proceed. Go and Google how many Africans have been telling white people and the world that we can cure HIV, we have the formula. And where they have ended up. Because we don't take our own seriously. Those who are intelligent, because we don't value them, they end up going to Europe and do wonders there. So what's wrong with African youth? They are intelligent. Let me tell you, we are equally intelligent, whether white, brown, black. We are intelligent people. No one is born stupid, Irumba. We can invent. How come that Africans, when they go to Europe and USA, excel? Are we dumb? Why is that when they go for competitions, the World Mathematics competition, which took place last month, was won by a Nigerian girl. I think she's 14 years. World Mathematics competition. What's wrong with youth in Africa? When they go outside, they excel, and when they're in Africa, they fail. What is the problem, Kasuti? The problem lies first on the people themselves. that we don't believe in ourselves when we are in this environment. Number two, also the leadership becomes a problem. That sometimes they curtail on our freedoms. Today I was talking about Uganda. Mr. Kasuti and Kashaya are here, my brothers are here. Mr. Museveni closed our internet in December 1991. You agree with me?
His Excellency the President.
Okay. I said the President.
You said Mr. Museveni.
But that's the same.
Okay.
That's semantics. Okay, the President switched off the internet in the elections of 2020.
Yes, because you are misusing it.
Is the internet on?
The internet is on, but the Facebook is off.
The internet, Facebook is what?
Is off.
So is your country free?
But your forefathers were not using the internet.
No, look at that kind of response. Look, So, don't preempt yes.
If we are going to Karamoja,
Don't defend Museveni.
and when road to Karamoja is closed, does it mean you cannot access
Don't
Karamoja?
defend Museveni for taking away our rights. Look at OTT. Look at airtime and all those bogus taxes. Irumba, you know how many youth in Uganda can do business online? Because your business survives online.
I also do online.
Now, if the cost of production is high, how do you excel?
But also, if my road is not constructed to my village, I also complain.
But the money for the roads is stolen and you know it. Can I give you figures?
I leave it.
Can I give you figures?
Leave it for the sake of time.
So,
you have 3 minutes, by the way.
No, I wanted to talk a little more. Now,
10 so far, 15.
look at the rate of unemployment. This is very interesting. South Africa, when you look at records, your Google records, is ranked as one of the, actually number one of the richest countries in Africa with the better economy. They even quite democratic.
Right.
When you look at internet, you know how stupid the internet can be. But when you look at South Africa, it has one of the highest unemployment at the same time. But the world over is showing it as an example of a democratic country when there is xenophobia, people are killing themselves in South Africa. Now, look at Burkina Faso, 77% of them are unemployed. In Uganda, do you know how many are unemployed in Uganda? But it's the president of Cameroon. In fact, he stays where? Not in Cameroon. Follow your youth. You have to Google these things. So, now, when you look at, finally, I want to encourage you to read. Remember, all of us must read. There is a book called Decolonization of the African Mind. Decolonize your mind. We have leaders, yes, but also our leaders are being led.
That is very true.
Now, there is a book I want also to talk about. The Confession of an Economic Hitman. Look for the book called The Confession of an Economic Hitman. Look at how the West, how US is stealing from Africa, and how they make our leaders puppets. You don't agree with them, tomorrow, assassination. Tomorrow, a coup. Economic hitman. Finally, it was empire. Because they mentioned it. It had the Bahima, Bahunda, Bahinda. It was in Uganda, northern Tanzania, western Kenya, eastern Democratic Congo, and were demigods. And who are their subjects? The Baganda, the Basita, the Banyamba, the Bahutu. Okay? So,
you're most welcome, Mr. Professor. My fellow Pan-Africanists, my fellow Africans. Mr. Speaker, sir, my name is Kashaya Twebaze. Last time when I was giving a presentation here, I was very clear and sober. I said, see now, the professor is repeating a mistake. At 30 years, constitutionally, can be head of state. Then why do you call me future leader? Even at 25, even at the so-called liberators, they reached here in 1986. All of them, they were below 30 years. When Russia attacked Ukraine, the European countries, all of them, united with allies and said, we are respecting the sovereignty of the country. You cannot invade Ukraine. And they started giving support. Tell me a single country. We have had a lot of invasions from the West. Right off from Somalia, Iraq, Afghanistan. No single country from Africa that came out and defended the fellow African state. Nothing. Recently, when there was a fight between Dinkas and who are these other tribes in South Sudan, when UPDF went across, yes, that's Africa. Now that we have talked about this, then tomorrow, that's where we shall start from there. No, it has to be resolved. That's what Europeans right now, they are united. Even, by the way, let me tell you, Mr. Chairman, they have mastered even playing football. Some of you who are watching Manchester United and what, before the match starts, there is a clear message that we are united as Europeans against the invasion of Ukraine.
Stop invasion.
Stop invasion. Even they go further, because Mr. Chairman, there are new colonial clubs. Mr. Kato, my friend, mentioned some of them. Commonwealth. These are colonial clubs.
Uganda is a member, a proud one.
Very proud, actually. Even they had to persuade.
People's Pan-African Parliament. The power is in your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament.
Abraham said, listen to them on Tuesday. And because this forum respects rights, I will begin by the protocol speaking with explanation of our Father and our God, for your spirit of wisdom upon you, that I may declare the truth through Christ our Lord. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, fellow panelists, the professor, relevant African, and the wonderful speaker moderator who invited me to this. I'm glad that my Pan-African college at Makerere University are also in the vein of knowledge. I discovered that my lovely speaker would love to make a proposal that comes up in regard to putting this product ahead. I love that you get a speakership week because the world has already defined these hackers. Their role is dangerous spirituality. So for now, we can say you're an African spiritual leader than a speaker. But that's good. I will start with a wonderful story because Africa will love the stories. And in the stories, you can grow a little blessing. A young, enthusiastic man and a wonderful lady fell in love with a very clear objective, making a beautiful family and marriage to have children. Each of them was coming from a very hard past. The man had been all this man who had done everything, a robber, had done every crime on earth. And the lady was also not an angel. But because of love, infinitely they had to share every secret of their dark past. So when they grew and lived together, they ate, they drank, they went for honeymoons. It was all love, merrymaking, moving, and happiness. Until one day, that the man decided to go to the stream to catch some fish to bring to his wife as they would try to prepare a meal. Unfortunately, the man sends in the child to try and catch the fish, and the child drowned. And this was the only one child they did have. The loss of that child became bitterness. Everyone in despair. They were in their old age. They couldn't have any child anymore. And the woman started to blame the man. If I told you didn't save my child, or you didn't go with my child to the stream, the child would have lived. And the man started to blame the woman of all this. So it became a bitter exchange of the past. They started to abuse each other of the past. And because they were abusing each other, they could no more harvest their crops. They could no more eat from one saucepan, share the daily or even share the day. They lived into bitterness. Until one day, that the woman said, well, I forgive. And it all started with she forgot the past. We start with the future. That's how it happens. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the typical African story. A story of men. You know, my grandfather, Nyenka Kasunga Kiyabanda I, is the last true emperor of Togo. He defeated Kabalego in the war. enlarge the Toro ruling given in Gonga area, where the UPDF corporation started. Because when his brother went fighting after him, he went to Gonga, mobilized the soldiers, and went and captured him and killed him from Somalia. So that marks the end until the British bring down Casablanca, who became now those titles of members of the British Empire and so on. Those were British, half British manager. But Cavalera killed my grandfather using biological poison and told the police on the road. And the king did a few steps of breaching security. I said, no, give me the gift from my king, give me the gift from my Fulani company, not money, it was poison. But that tells you that until today, if you never knew Ugandans, that in this part of the DR Congo, where the operation supply is currently taking place, these Africans manufacture weapons. The one we use to manufacture here in Uganda, in Angola, in Toro, in Europe, and everywhere. SPRs and also they manufacture guns, they make guns. If the Uzungu did not come, young man from the university, by 1897, a British professor, Rex, he came to New York specifically to study about the Syrian section. Because all people in Europe, when girls were prematurely pregnant, they would never deliver. He came to study how the Africans were. There was going to be progress. But ladies and gentlemen, we need to start at the point of defining the Africa we know. Let's define a human being. Because at the end of it all, it's not about them, it's about you. The African being, or the African, or any human being for this particular case, is a biological being who is made in three major parts and components. That's the body, mind, and soul. For you to construct the African, you have to comprehensively look on how you can exploit these three spheres. The body has to feed well so that you don't get malnourished. Vegetables outside, energy foods, carbohydrates, and so on. Mind. The mind has to feed well. I have always told my friends, we need only one thing, two subjects, for us to be great, for us to be different. Our children right from kindergarten must know two subjects, chemistry and mathematics. Everything is chemistry. Chemistry. We who have studied it, or we who have gone to the lab school, everything is chemistry. This water is chemistry, the water is chemistry. Everything is chemistry. If you know chemistry and you define it, and matter in its entirety, everything is chemistry. If we get to teach our children the hidden chemistry which they put in the periodic table, they came with the old terminology, and those terminologies look expired. And we have not. Albert Einstein, this Hebrew man, says, if you cannot explain it so well, then you don't understand. Soul. Now, this soul, which is in a human being, this soul is a component. Unfortunately, this soul is the one that controls the body and mind. It's a communicator. It's a communicator. If you sit to meditate like this and you have a very powerful relative and you meditate upon them what people are holding powers and can't do something else, you will possibly see that person calling you. That's why many people say, oh, you called me at the time when you were exactly thinking about it. Have you had those communications? This is not what this is the reality. That comes because the soul that is in the inner man matter, electrons, neutrons moving in the air, going into the universe, connecting in the subconscious back from one. It's like a network, if they do it here. Where the telecommunication engineer to draw, there is a personal network that connects from one individual to the other. Now, for you to be a fully conscious human being, all the things, the body, your eating, your feeding must be a. Have a nice breakfast. Everything is nice. Your mind, the content that is in, the social science, the history of Africa, every education, knowledge base, chemistry, everything, you must be A. And then also your spirit must be A. And this soul, spirituality is a wider concept. Now, what you need to know about this spirituality is that it has hierarchy. You must be blessed that as I was introduced here, that I am an African culture diplomat. We are custodians of culture. We really know these invisible things how to do. These are the tools who talk about the tools the professor did it very well. While the conclusion was that the tools were then because this was a spiritual thing. So it's more a spiritual thing than what you want to call physical. And they want to tell you that when the conclusion comes that the tools got extinct, you know, in Toro language they say Wakaboromoka. It's because they were simply overpowered. This doctrine was overpowered and it was erased. It was erased by those who knew how to do spiritual, how to serve the spiritual. And this has ushered us to know other things. By the way, if you read other very great notions and ideologies of spirituality, for example, in Korea and Japan, China, they have something they call the official theory. Not the official. Everything exists in two spheres. But both of them can coexist and be common. But at the end of it all, I will tell you that light overpowers them. That's why until today, nobody has ever manufactured darkness. Today, okay, say I cannot tune in darkness during the day. But you can turn light during the day. So light is perceived that it is a superior sphere than darkness. And what is darkness? People, jealousy, doing bad things. Touching my brother who tries to do this. All those things are opponents. But what is light? Darkness. What is light? If my grandfather Dinka was given a chance to live, given a great hand, he would even conquer the entire country called Uganda and the Pacific. Is the speaker, whether the Olimumba, the Pan-African, the leader of the Pan-African is given the entire power. He's going to chair the entire country. Now, this is about humanity. Yeah, because one philosopher says, Mr. Speaker, that give man a few tools and he will show you his arrogance. So give him a few, if you give you a few tools of power, you will share the entire country. So we cannot start with this tradition that the rule of our honorable speaker was very brief and county, railguns, you have everything calling for aid. So your only way of liberating yourself from this is standing and immediately as the master can close the window, not to enable payments, because of payments, immediately Chinese company jump and say we are taking over. And that was backward progression. So otherwise they were not going to continue doing business in India, China, unless the Chinese company jump. The only thing for you to liberate Africa is to do what? Celebrating is to become a global very big industry practitioner. We started company, now we are a certain thing. So immediately, if all these foreign companies close here today, they say no more business. Immediately, this company will jump in and payments continue and people can send money from across the world to Uganda. This is how we solve things. We look at devil is our problem. So, as I move, you have what we call the education of philosophers, but I believe so much in the spiritual. Yes. We have what we call the spiritual, if you call them philosophers. Me, a man who believes in Yeshua, who we call Jesus. And this man said, very simple one. And the men were with him because it is a fact that we live. And they asked, how can we do some of these things that you are doing? Because the other one was operating in the supernatural force of the spiritual, which I told you. That even just this Chinese man, he told me that if you energize your power in spiritual, you can move from here and fly, stop walking and fly in the air. I said, can that really happen? He believed off that ground and puts him in the air. So he said it's simple one. That if you can, unless you do them in prayer and fasting. And let me, as I conclude, Mr. Chairman, let me confess to you a fact. It is a fact of life. We're talking about the body eating is a fact of life. We're talking about the mind reading and having knowledge is a fact of life. We are talking about the soul spirituality is a fact of life. It is spirituality that there is higher. Total higher. You come with your spirit, I come with my spirit. We don't spirit. The one which wins, conquers. That's why some men live by the dream, even of what will happen.
Professor John William Alejo is a professor and international civil rights advocate. Professor Alejo, you have met your co-author or your fellow author. It is only Professor Kasuto whom I don't have rating apart from this. We need to have a copy. Mr. Speaker, sir. Yes, Professor. I'm late, but I'm so blessed to have had from. No, big managers. So I understand what you do, sir. I always want, at my age, every day when I wake up, I think the last days of life. I always enjoy talking to young people. Even if you get my number, boys and girls, yes, I enjoy imparting knowledge. So I'm really impressed that you have given knowledge. And I wanted Kagama is not moving alone. What you see him there, he's not alone. No, first I want to say this because I don't want to do this. I don't want to enter into my time because I don't know what was said before when I was here. But the issue of the graduates, I found it Mr. Speaker, sir. The graduates have just been a mystical force.
The Bachwezi ruled the whole of this East African region up to Tanzania. So that time, the Bachwezi actually controlled Bunyoro Kitara. Bunyoro King was the Bunyoro Empire. The Bunyoro of the Bachwezi until 570 years ago, when there came a force from northern, the Luo, who overran and captured the Bachwezi king of Wamara and took him to a place called Bubungu. I have relatives, we can get the whole thing. The Bachwezi, Bunyoro Bachwezi was so evil. There was even human sacrifice in Bunyoro. The Bunyoro of the Bachwezi. Their rule was as you see now. Democracy. As you see now. Democracy. They don't want any other person to be rich until the Luo stormed. When the Luo stormed, we captured the king. He was put on Lake Albert, Mwitanzi, out of Apache. I can testify this. And I've been looking for the moment when we can. You see, Museveni said the Banyarwanda were not affected by the Bachwezi. It is wrong. In Mbarara, you have that. Let me talk, please. In Mbarara, there is a museum about the eclipse. No, a museum about the eclipse. That eclipse is in honor of Olimi. And when this man is a Luo, because I told you, when the Luo reached Bunyoro, they were military, they were not ruling. They were started ruling during the Luo Kami. And that's why the king of the empire was changed from Bunyoro to Bunyoro Chitara. The word Chitara means light. That is true. And that's why the Bunyoro and the Batoro have a back. A Embargo in Luo means back. So all the embargoes in Bunyoro and Toro, they are Luo names. Again, Olimi, Oyo, all the royal family in Toro and Bunyoro, they are Luo. Even Uganda, the royal family, not the entire family, the royal. So when they were in the ruling clan, exactly, they are Luo. And he's a movie. That's why it's bright. So he's a Luo. That's why it's bright. The Luo, the wisdom of the Luo. Are you not a movie? No, it is. I hear about this speak. It is the Barito who are Luo. And they are those who are exactly. And even in our college, now, I want to address you. I don't know.
The Barito and the rules who came later.
Yes.
And all the empire existing. What I want to know. How is it